What's next for Deontay Wilder? Well, we should probably ask Al Heyman, the all-seeing, all-knowing Al Heyman. But since we don't have access to him, I guess we're going to have to speculate. Now, if you look at the top 15 of the WBC heavyweight rankings, it hasn't been updated since Wilder's won the world title against Stavern. So it's still got Wilder as number one contender, but from number 2 down, it's probably going to be pretty much the same. So I'll just read it out to you. They got Povetkin at number 2, Jennings at number 3, Mike Perez at number 4, Tyson Fury 5, Glasgow 6, Lucas Brown 7, Anthony Joshua 8, Andy Ruiz 9, Manuel Char 10, Artur Spilker 11, Carlos Takam 12, Chris Arreola 13, Tony Thompson 14, Odlanier Solis 15, and Derek Chisora 16, just in case they juggle around those ratings, which they often do. Now, one name that's not in there, which may make a miraculous return to the top 15, all right, don't be surprised if this happens, is David Haye. Don't be surprised if David Haye miraculously appears in the top 15 of the WBC heavyweight rankings sometime soon. Because we know he's been over in the States talking to Al Heyman. Okay, so if he manages to, do a handshake and do a deal, don't be surprised if you see David Haye appear in that top 15 of the WBC. And that's one fight people are not talking about. People are saying, yeah, let's see Wilder against Klitschko. Let's see Wilder against Tyson Fury. Some people are even talking about Wilder against Povetkin. Why not see Wilder against David Haye? That'd be a massive fight. One of the biggest fights in the heavyweight division. People talk about this sparring footage between Haye and Wilder, and this has been just doing my head in whenever I see people talk about that sparring footage. It's like they're judging how that fight would go on 5 seconds of sparring footage. I mean, how stupid is that? And you know who you are, you people who have been saying this stuff, because I've been arguing with these people in comment sections on YouTube and on Facebook for months and months now. Like, how the hell can you judge on 5 seconds of sparring footage, particularly when David Haye has done several interviews where he said that 5-second clip was edited to make himself look good. He admitted that. He said himself that Wilder did very well against him in sparring and held his own. Gary Logan did an interview recently with Ingram Jones on Bayloric TV, and he also said he was at the spar, and he said Wilder did very, very well against David Haye. That 5-second clip was not representative of how the whole spar went. I don't know why anyone would think it would be. Ridiculous. So anyway, I think David Haye against Wilder would be an intriguing fight. And I think it'll probably be in the States because although, I don't know, I think David Haye's struggling at the moment to get a TV deal. I think that's why we haven't seen him back yet. Because of all the pullouts in the UK, he's struggling to get a TV deal. So he might be forced to go to America, concede a large percentage, and take on Deontay Wilder, maybe on NBC. I'm not sure exactly how Al Heyman's going to do this TV thing with NBC. If guys like Wilder are going to continue to be on Showtime and not on NBC, I don't know. To me, it would make sense because they're trying to build Wilder's profile. It would make sense if they did have his next few voluntaries on NBC at least, because there was a lot of empty seats in that MGM Grand, and NBC would get him a massive audience and it would be able to build his profile very, very quickly. So I think that a few voluntaries on NBC for Deontay Wilder over in America would do wonders for his profile. And we're not talking about, 1 or 2 million people watching like when Mayweather or Pacquiao fight on pay-per-view. We're talking about tens of millions of people in America watching on NBC. It would do wonders for Wilder's profile. It would do wonders for the heavyweight division in the United States, because America has obviously got a long history with heavyweights. They've produced some of the greatest and most exciting heavyweights of all time. And I would love to see a resurgence in American heavyweight boxing. I think anyone who loves heavyweights really would, because as I say, they've produced pretty much all the most exciting heavyweights over the years. So yeah, David Haye against Wilder over in America would be a big fight. And just as I've been saying all along, I'm not sure that David Haye wins that fight. In fact, I might even lean towards Deontay Wilder, particularly after the questions he's been able to answer in that Stiverne fight. I'd probably be leaning towards Deontay Wilder. Now, if you look at some of the other guys in the top 15, Tyson Fury, obviously, that's a natural fight as well. And again, I think that'll probably be better in the United States. I heard Wilder's manager saying that they'd like to go over to the UK and fight Fury. But I'm not sure if that would be the right move from a profile standpoint. Because, I don't know, I mean, they could obviously still show it on NBC in the United States. But I think that Wilder needs to be having his fights on American soil. You know, that's how I feel. To really build his profile, he needs to be around the people. He's a people person anyway. He's a brash guy. He's, you know, amiable and what have you. He needs to be around the people. He needs to endear himself to the American public. And I think he can do that. It's important to have his fights on American soil. That's what I feel. So I think it'd be better if they brought Tyson Fury over to the States, had a long build up to the fight, lots of trash talk, lots of press conferences, lots of media events in the States, lots of coverage on NBC for the American public to see it, and then have a big showdown in a big arena somewhere in Las Vegas or wherever. And it will be a great event. It will be a great, great event. So that's also a possible fight there. It's obvious that the Klitschko fight is not going to happen next. They're going to at least have 2-3 voluntaries for Wilder first. But looking at the rest of the top 10, there's some interest. I mean, you could maybe Artur Spilka for a voluntary, maybe get him in there. Who else is in there? Andy Ruiz, obviously. That's possible for a voluntary. Certainly, the way that Wilder looked against Stiverne, you would favor, or I would favor Wilder heavily over Andy Ruiz at this point. Joshua, who's at number 8 in the WBC rankings, he's not ready for this level just yet. He's got a long way to go in his career. Lucas Browne, he was calling out Deontay Wilder quite recently, saying that he'd love to be a voluntary for Deontay Wilder if he beats Stiverne. Well, he did beat Stiverne, so that's possible. Possibly an option for Wilder, and I think he beats Lucas Browne too. Lucas Browne, strong guy, powerful, but crude. I think Wilder would catch him before Browne caught Wilder. Vyacheslav Glazkov, one of the least glamorous guys in the top 10 in terms of his public profile, but he's a solid fighter. Again, possible option. Mike Perez, and one guy who a lot of people have been talking about, Alexander Povetkin. And also, before I move on to Povetkin, people have also been talking about the fact that apparently Perez shook Wilder up in sparring. People need to get over Wilder's chin. You know, he proved that his chin is not as bad as some people have been making out against Stiverne, although he was rolling with the shots and he never really took the full force of Stiverne's shots. But what people need to stop doing is focusing in on one thing on Wilder, which is his chin, and ignoring everything else that he does. This guy's got one of the best right hands that in the heavyweight division. He's probably got one of the best right hands in the heavyweight division for many years. Okay, it's fast. He can land it from long range. It's an extremely powerful shot. And he can do a lot of other things. As we saw, he's got a nice whipping left hook. He's got a jab. He's competent on the inside, we found out, against Stiverne. Okay, he's not Riddick Bowe on the inside, but he's competent. He's tactically aware. So let's stop just focusing in on the guy's chin. You know, we all had questions about Wilder going into the Stiverne fight, but the important thing is to give him a chance to prove himself. People were writing him off before they'd seen him in there with a guy like Stiverne. I couldn't understand why people were writing him off the way they were. It just didn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense. Me, I had questions, but I was like, look, we don't know what he can do. Let's see what he can do before we make a judgment. Let's not write people off without giving him a chance first. The guy can obviously bang, and if you can bang and you're a heavyweight, you're always going to have a chance, especially if you're athletic and you're 6'7". So I don't know why people like to jump the gun the way they do and write a guy like Wilder off when he's got this terrific punching power and this size and what have you. But they say that Perez shook him up in sparring. To me, that's neither here nor there, man. That is neither here nor there. Alexander Povetkin, that's a fight people have been talking about. It's an interesting fight. Would they have it in Russia? Would they have it in the United States? Again, I think it would be better in the United States. Why not? Wilder's the champion. Why is he going to travel to guys' backyards when he's the champion? How does that make sense? You know, he's champion and he's got access now to NBC in the US. Why is he traveling to guys' backyards? I know Povetkin does get good numbers in Russia, but I still think as WBC champion, bring heavyweight boxing back to the United States. Keep it in the United States if you can. Okay, create your own market. That to me seems far more sensible from a business point of view, and even from a fight point of view. Let Wilder feel comfortable. I know Wilder's traveled abroad before. Okay, so he probably doesn't have a problem traveling abroad, and you know it wouldn't bother him that much. But either way, the old home advantage situation is always better if you can get it. And Wilder Povetkin in the US, interesting fight. I think Povetkin might be a tougher fight than Berman Stavern, you know. I think Povetkin's a bit quicker on his feet than Stavern. He's a bit more versatile. I think it might be a more difficult fight than Stavern. I'm not sure he's as tough as Stavern, although Povetkin is tough. Don't get it twisted. He is a tough guy. I'm not sure he's quite as tough as Stavern was. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out if he fights Wilder. But I would pick Wilder to beat Povetkin. I pick him to beat Jennings. I pick him to beat Fury. Glass. I pretty much pick him to beat everyone in the top 15 of the WBC at the moment. David Haye that's a tough fight. That's damn near 50-50, although I'd slightly favor Wilder. And at this point in time, I'd still favor Klitschko over Wilder. We'll see if Wilder can improve. He's obviously still relatively young by heavyweight standards. If he can improve, maybe my opinion on that will change. But he's certainly a very dangerous fight for Klitschko. Even though apparently Klitschko handled Wilder very well in sparring, Wilder's obviously been improving. And with that right hand that he's got, with that power, wow. I mean, Vladimir don't want to get hit with that. I don't care who you are in the heavyweight division. You don't want to get hit with that right hand. You do not want to get hit with that shot. And that's going to give him a chance against anyone that he steps in the ring with. Because he's not like a Marius Vac who could punch or some of these other slower heavyweights. He's got terrific velocity on his power shot. And he's 6'7". He's got long arms, longer arms than Klitschko. So it's a different type of equation when you've got speed, length, and that type of punching power. So, you know, it's a dangerous fight. Probably the most dangerous fight for Vladimir Klitschko at this particular point in time is Deontay Wilder. You know, he really did prove a lot in that Stavern fight. He showed us elements of his game that he hasn't revealed before because he hasn't had to. It's not because they weren't there. He didn't have to reveal them. When I said that Deontay Wilder's best chance of beating Stavern was on points, some people said to me, well, he's never shown the ability to stick to a game plan and box. So what makes you think he can do it against Stavern? Well, I know he'd never shown it because he hadn't had to. But I also knew that he had very smart guys in his team, like Mark Breland, who would know exactly the way that Wilder needed to fight a guy like Stavern. Okay, this is a guy who was trained by Manny Stewart, who was a world champion himself. He's not going to tell Wilder, yeah, go in there and smash him up and give him every opportunity to land counter punches on you. He's not going to tell him that. He was obviously going to tell him, use your height and reach, keep him off balance, keep moving. He's got slow feet. You know, just keep the fight on the outside, and if you find an opportunity to hurt him, then hurt him. That's obviously what he was going to tell him. So I always felt that Wilder was at least going to attempt to stick a move in the fight. And if he could stay disciplined, because he does seem like a, hot-headed guy, if he could stay disciplined and avoid getting caught rushing in, then his best chance would be to win the fight on points. So just because you haven't seen someone do something, Wilder always had the physical attributes. He had the guys in his team, like Mark Breland, guys who knew exactly how to beat a guy like Stavern. So I think it was more sensible to give the guy the benefit of the doubt rather than just write him off and say, oh, no, he can't do that. Anyway, long-winded video. Sorry about that. But let me know some of the guys you'd like to see Deontay Wilder fight. Who do you think he should fight next? Where do you think his fight should be? Do you think he should go over to the UK and Russia and fight people there? Or do you agree with me that he should base himself in the States, stay in the States, have big fights in the States, and try and revive heavyweight boxing in the USA again on NBC and what have you? Let me know about your opinions on that and the eventual showdown with Vladimir Klitschko. Fights with David Haye, possibly Tyson Fury. Let me know about your opinions on all that. Lucas Brown as well. So much to talk about. Drop your comments below. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.